In a random building, someone is telling a woman that the wedding gift will be 1 million yen plus 120,000, making a total of 8 million. The boy places his hand on his chest and says that he has been saving up money for 11 years just for this moment. However, if she asks for another 1.6 million, he really won't be able to get it. The mother says he's crazy for putting things this way. She's not selling her daughter. It's just that, to hand over her daughter, there has to be sincerity. And in this case, sincerity is demonstrated with money. That chubby fool in the background is our protagonist's girlfriend named Kawasaki Masa. And her father, Yoshio, says that after the boy lost his parents, he found out that he inherited a beautiful apartment. If he gave the signal, he could find some people to buy it from him, and then he could have the money. Yuto, our fool, says that he can't just go around selling the things his father left behind. The mother, named Tame, gets angry and says that the bastard won't sell because he doesn't love her daughter. She tells her mother to stop and then approaches our boy. Sometime later, they're already downstairs in the building, and she asks our protagonist if he really can't get that 1.6 million. He has to find a solution. However, the protagonist asks her to understand the situation he's in. He really doesn't have any more sources of money, but that damn woman promises that she'll make it worth his while. Oh, the nerve, because then she tells him to get the money from a loan shark, stating that it's hard to date someone who doesn't even know how to make money. Our protagonist is all well-dressed and stylish, but even this fool suffers at the hands of women, just to show you how things are. And he says, all right, I'll try to find a way to get that money. With that, he leaves saying that as soon as he gets it, he'll come back and then they can get married. She says she's waiting for him to fulfill his responsibility. The scene then shifts to a cafe. His friends ask if he's really going to have just that for lunch. He explains that he has to save money for something more important than eating. Right nearby, his future wife is talking to a girl, but she probably doesn't even know the fool works there. The girl wants to know where Masa's money is. Was she's supposed to be marrying that millionaire, the son of a man who owned multiple companies? Masa responds that the other guy was a bastard who only gave her 100,000. Her friend asks about the current guy, and she says this one is even worse. He has a building from his father's inheritance, but he won't sell it to give her the money. The friend seems a little confused and asks what the plan is this time. That's when Masa reveals that she's pregnant, so unfortunately, she'll have to marry this bastard. But it's fine. Once the baby is born, she'll divorce him and take half of the property he'll inherit from his father. Perfect. A very honest woman, truly. Obviously, our poor fool is standing there, boiling with rage, unable to comprehend. Clearly, she hasn't realized he's the fool because she asks him to bring her some water. Obviously, he doesn't want to turn around, and she keeps banging on the table, demanding to know why he won't answer. At that moment, he just throws himself down while the damn woman curses. Now, in the employee break room, the fool is crouched down, crying. Suddenly, he receives a call from someone asking him to pick up a certain sake at the airport. He says it's fine since his part-time shift just ended. The poor guy is under the shower, completely devastated, crying and screaming that that damn woman only talks about money. Money is all she cares about. That's when, out of nowhere, the simplest system in the world appears. It tells him that he has suffered too much in this life, and because of that, he's caused a shift in the global economy. Basically, everything is depreciated by 1,000,000%. Meanwhile, his money remains intact, and he even earns 5% per day, which totals an extra 5,000 yen. Yuto just assumes that some lunatic is shouting nonsense and leaves. He gets on the bus and asks how much the fare to the airport costs. Suddenly, people around him start laughing, joking about how crazy it is to talk about spending yen to take a bus. The two guys sitting behind him say that if an idiot makes 100 sen a month, that's already pretty good. For those who don't know, a sen is basically 1/100th of a yen, like dividing a cent by 100. Our boy is confused, not understanding why they're talking like this. After all, an airport bus fare used to cost around 1,000 yen. He asks the driver to just say the price so he can board. That's when a man in a suit suddenly tells him to stop trying to enter and to stop acting like a millionaire, talking about spending yen like that. Clearly, by the way he's dressed, the boy is poor, so he should quit the nonsense. Yuto assumes he's dealing with a bunch of crazy people. Of course, he has at least 200 yen to pay for the ticket. The suited man laughs and says he must be insane if he actually has 200 yen. No way someone dressed like that has that much money in their pocket. Then the man in the suit gets tired of Yuto's jokes and tells him to just sit down. He'll cover the 2 sen for his ticket. Yuto looks around, wondering if this is some kind of show or event, but there aren't any cameras. The driver tells him to sit down already because they need to leave. That's when our dear Yuto pulls out 2 sen yen coins and says, "Here you go." Immediately, everyone's eyes light up, eager to know how this kid has so much money. The suited man is convinced it must be fake. How could a kid have coins like these? That's when Yuto remembers the voice he heard earlier and starts to wonder if it's actually true. He offers the coin to the driver and asks if he can get change. However, the driver says it would be very difficult to give him change for that much money. They have to contact the company owners first. At that moment, our protagonist realizes something. Not only was his 100 yen worth an insane amount now, but everyone around him was desperate for money. To avoid trouble, he gets off the bus. At that moment, a brand new phone was selling for just 1 senator. Even a luxury handbag cost no more than 17 senator. A Rolex itself was worth only 1 yen. This leaves him confused. He has no idea what to do with his 10,000 yen bills. It seems like this currency isn't even accepted anymore, so maybe he needs to go to the bank to figure it out. A while later, his number is called. The bank clerk greets him and asks how she can help today. Our guy says he's there to make a small deposit. She asks for the amount. He says it's just 100,000 yen and that he'd like to open an account to spend it more easily online. The woman looks shocked, saying she can't handle that much money. She'll have to call the manager. His bankos start getting authenticated. The woman returns, sweating, saying it's unbelievable. They're genuine notes. The system even explains that the way money is used has changed. 1 yen is now equal to a sen, which is the number 100 but spelled out as seen, and 1 sen equals 1,000 rins. Yeah, man, what a complicated currency system, but you get the idea. Basically, one is worth 100 times more than the other. Sometime later, now in the VIP room, he asks if they finished the verification. She confirms that they have and that his deposit of 100,000 yen has been processed. However, the clerk wants to confirm if he's really going to deposit the entire amount. The guy says yes, but to leave about 3 yen in his account since he has a few small bills to pay. That's when suddenly, the door swings open. Masa walks in with an old man saying that she did exactly as he asked and is now going to marry that fool. Now that she's become a married woman, their relationship is even more exciting. Yeah, it's really her. Someone please smack her over the head. The old man even takes a moment to examine his prize, saying that stealing another man's woman is quite the thrilling adventure. That's when Yudo, standing inside with his arms crossed, says he never expected her to be this kind of woman. She's caught off guard, confused about why he's there, and asks if he came to take out that loan she told him to get. But our boy gets straight to the point, saying he would never waste money marrying trash like her. Strangely, this lunatic just shrugs and says she's too beautiful to belong to just one person. It's only natural that someone with her looks has both a husband and a boyfriend. Yep, she's already living out the woman meme. Our guy just stands up, saying she's the worst woman he's ever seen. He's leaving now that his deposit is complete. But just then, the bank clerk says the regional manager also wants to speak with him. However, the old man, who is Masa's sponsor, tells him to stay put. After all, he insulted the girl and he won't just walk away like that. Yudo, seemingly confident in a fight, says that if the old man wants to throw hands, just say the word. But the old guy smirks and says it looks like the kid has no idea who he is. He's the president of the famous Tenryu group, which paid dozens of yen in taxes just this year alone. If he wanted, he could freeze all of Yudo's transactions right now. As soon as Yudo sees some security guards approaching, the old man smirks, saying it's time for the kid to be thrown out. However, the guard explains that Yudo is a VIP among VIPs. At that moment, a man named Bukasu enters, walking awkwardly, introducing himself as the regional administrator, and saying it's a pleasure to meet him. He was impressed to learn that someone deposited 100,000 yen, so Yudo will now receive a diamond black card. Our boy just thanks him, while the stunned X and the old man mutter that this kid must have forged money to deposit that much. The X chimes in, saying it's true. She knows that fool doesn't have that kind of money. But Bukasu responds that he doesn't want to hear anyone questioning the authenticity of money that has already been processed. Because of that, they will have to reconsider their partnership with the old man. At that moment, the desperate old fool pleads with them not to do this. If they freeze his assets at this bank, he'll go bankrupt. Meanwhile, a shameless woman has already latched onto Yudo's thigh, saying she made a mistake siding with that old geezer. The truth is, she always thought Yudo was more handsome and promising. But our guy simply orders the manager to throw this pile of garbage out. And with that, the old fool is kicked out. At the airport, Yudo realizes he took so long that Seki must have already arrived. He's sure she's getting impatient when, suddenly, someone touches his thigh. The curvy, lively girl teasingly says he owes her for making her wait so long. He apologizes, saying he'll buy her whatever she wants, and this humble girl just asks for some ice cream. The fool Yudo is already smitten, thinking she's as adorable as ever. As they talk about grabbing a drink, it seems like he was thinking of taking her to a Starbucks. But she points out that airport prices are outrageous. Nice to know that's a universal issue, crooks everywhere. Out of nowhere, someone shoulder checks Yudo as they walk past. A guy claiming to be Saki's classmate says he'll cover their costs since Yudo doesn't look like he can afford it. His friends laugh, saying they should just accept the offer. Yudo turns to Saki and asks if she knows these guys. She replies that she spoke with them yesterday since it looks like they'll be classmates at the same university. However, she grabs onto our boy's arm and says they should leave because these guys are weird. Shinji warns her that she'll regret turning down his offer, and his friend tells him to stop wasting time trying to help these poor people. That's when a small mission pops up for Yudo. In 2 hours, he has to spend 1 yen, and as a bonus, he'll receive a physical enhancement. The guy immediately flips a coin in the air, grinning. This is the perfect opportunity. Meanwhile, the other girl is still clinging to Shinji, telling him to just forget about those poor folks already. Then she suddenly complains that her throat is dry. This girl is at least peculiar. And the guy immediately says he'll go grab something for her to drink. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is a not-so-subtle innuendo or if I'm just reading too much into it, but it's at least suspicious. Suddenly, a crowd rushes past, bumping into Shinji. The guy angrily tells everyone to watch where they're going, but he's completely ignored. Two girls nearby are chatting about how it seems like everything at Starbucks is free today. Obviously, the three fools are confused. How does that make any sense? Yudo goes up to the counter and asks if everything is really free, and the cashier confirms that for now, it is. A certain generous customer is covering everything for everyone. Our boy shrugs, saying today's way too hot, so let's get a round of iced coffee for everyone. Of course, Saki is already enjoying the moment when suddenly Shinji demands to know what Yudo thinks he's doing. Our guy just tells him not to worry, he'll even cover one for him too. Obviously, Shinji refuses, saying he's not some poor guy who needs someone else to buy him Starbucks. Dude really shouldn't have said that because now everyone around is giving him the death glare. Shinji then turns to Yudo, snapping at him to shut up. He claims that since Yudo has never been abroad, he should stop pretending to be a millionaire. But for once, the crowd is actually making sense. They start shouting at the rich boy to shut up. Since he's not paying for anything, he can get lost. Things escalate fast. The dude gets beaten and trampled. Now that's what I call dedication to Starbucks. The guy is absolutely wrecked on the floor. Someone asks if the two girls with him are his friends, but they immediately deny even knowing him. That's when Yudo throws in his own burn, telling Shinji not to bother trying to hit on his sister with that spare change. Damn, why did it have to be his sister though? I really hope it's a Chinese sibling situation where they just call everyone brother or sister casually. With that, Yudo and Saki leave. She walks ahead wearing those tiny shorts wedged in, asking if he's really okay with spending so much money. Our boy just says that when it comes to protecting her, no amount of money is too much. Adi smooth talker. Sometime later, they're waiting for a taxi and mission is completed. With that, Yudo receives his reward. Apparently, he struggled to even spend 1 yen. Buying coffee for everyone wasn't enough, so he must have had to invest in something else. Now he's gotten a pill that increases his strength. Meanwhile, Saki is asking where the taxi they ordered is. A red car pulls up and she excitedly says it looks really cool. A girl with black hair rolls down the window and asks what Matsushima Yuno is doing here. Our boy replies to manager Yanaji that he came to pick up his sister and take her to university. Looks like this girl is someone from his workplace, probably important, since she reminds him about his big presentation this afternoon. Even though Yudo doesn't need money anymore, this project is something he's been working on for months. Saki tells him not to worry. She'll go with him. Besides, he should take the chance to spend more time next to such a beautiful woman. Our guy quickly tells her not to say things like that, especially since he doesn't have that kind of relationship with the manager. Yanaji asks what they're whispering about and Yudo just asks for a ride. Meanwhile, he's thinking that since he spent his whole life as a broke guy, he doesn't want to miss any opportunity to make even a single cent. Inside the car, Yanaji tells him to review his presentation materials and prepare. Because if this project gets approved, he'll be receiving a huge bonus. Yudo says he knows he's falling for her tricks, but he'll do his best. Man, this manager Yanaji works hard, let's put it that way, and her hand is up to something peculiar, giving the boy a little pinch. He tells her to cut it out with the tricks, but she just smiles and says he should be happy that she's even using tricks on him. Damn it, you got a point. A little while later, they arrive at the company and the manager, Ogata Kusuk, tells him to throw all of that away. Our protagonist asks what he means by that. Apparently, this guy is taking over Yudo's position and says he doesn't need to show up anymore. The guy even tosses Yudo's materials to the floor, but our boy demands he give them back. Ogata, clearly used to getting his way, raises his hand, ready to smack Yudo, asking if he wants to settle this with a fight. Unfortunately for him, Yudo just had his strength tripled. With a quick move, Yudo twists Ogata's arm and slams him into the ground. While the guy groans, completely confused about how this weakling got so strong, someone else steps in. It's another higher-up who tells Yudo to let go. Apparently, this new guy says Yudo has very few skills, which is why Ogata will be presenting the project instead. Yudo immediately protests, saying they can't just ignore the fact that he worked on this project from the start and hand it over to someone else. The guy is about to dismiss him when someone slams a hand on the table and declares that they won't let this happen. It's manager Yanaji, I'm really starting to like her, saying that since Yudo created the project, he should be the one to present it. Ogata, looking all twisted and defeated, whines asking why they won't let him present. Yanaji simply states that he's not capable of it. After all, he doesn't even understand the project. There's no way someone this clueless would be able to handle it properly. Ogata scowls and points a finger, saying, fine, but we'll settle this soon enough. With that, he storms off, while Yanaji tells our boy not to worry and to get ready for the presentation. Yudo can't help but think that despite being extremely focused on work, at least she treats him with care. Later, in the conference room, Yanaji announces that the presentation is over. The vice president, Akira, congratulates them, saying they exceeded expectations. First, Yanaji praises Yudo with a handshake, then immediately uses some high-density magic to push the poor guy away. Meanwhile, a mustached man mentions that once the company president arrives, they'll discuss how to handle the debts. Yanaji looks confused. What debts are they talking about? That's when the shady guy from before enters, saying that unfortunately, there seems to be an issue with payroll. Apparently, they owe hundreds of yen, and at this rate, it won't be able to pay any employees' salaries. Yanaji refuses to believe it. She always checks the finances. But the guy just smirks and tells her she was deceived by the old executives. Turns out, all the financial calculations were completely fake. She immediately realizes that none of this makes sense, unless it was a trap from the very start. The guy then smugly declares that this whole situation was just a simple fool's trap. Yanaji, furious, says this isn't fair. She's poured her blood and sweat into this company, so how could they do this to her? But the man ignores her completely and announces that the company will be sold to the gentleman beside him for 90 yen. Yanaji is devastated. She's actually crying, saying that 90 yen is way too cheap. This is nothing but exploiting the weak. The smug guy just laughs, saying it doesn't matter, since it's not like she has the money to make a counteroffer. At that moment, President Kinoshita arrives. Now that I think about it, the mustache guy is probably the bank owner where Yudo made his deposit. And now the two of them are chatting about some lunatic in town who invested 100,000 yen. That's when Kinoshita notices Yudo standing there and asks what he's doing. Immediately, the old guy who just walked in asks if this is the kid who deposited 100,000 yen. The banker confirms it. The man steps forward, slightly hunched, and introduces himself as Kishinoda, the company president, saying it's an honor to meet him. Meanwhile, Ogata, the fool, is utterly lost, not understanding why two presidents are suddenly sucking up to Yudo. The two high-ups immediately tear into Ogata, telling him to stay out of matters concerning someone who deposited 100,000 yen. Yudo, taking everything in, asks if they're really going through with this ridiculous plan to sell the company for 90 yen. Of course, now the guy is all twisted up, saying it's better to just drop the subject. He doesn't want to get involved with Yudo. But Yudo isn't about to let things slide that easily. He tells Yanaji that they need to clean up how things are run around here. And he wastes no time warning the investors that Ogata was behind a scheme to put the company into debt and sell it off for cheap. Naturally, the investors and the bank official immediately say they'll launch an investigation. Ogata tries to lie his way out of it, but it's already too late. The next scene. The scandal is all over the news. Embezzlement exposed. Someone is pouring wine, celebrating today's victory. Damn, I thought we were already in the hotel room, but nope, we're still at the restaurant. Yanaji says that Yudo saved her life, so they have to toast. Yudo, ever the logical one, tells her that from now on, she will be managing the company. She turns bright red, saying she's not sure if she's ready. She's easily deceived after all. She stands up and says that if he trusts her that much, they need to toast closer. And then, of course, she trips like an idiot. But our boy saves her in a totally normal way. I was expecting one of those accidentally inappropriate and falls, but nope. She does, however, twist her ankle and asks him to carry her downstairs, but not to try anything weird. Our boy carries her as if she weighs nothing, saying it's fine. Sometime later, they make it to a hotel room where he gently lays her on the bed, saying he's heading out so she can rest. But the moment he turns around, a cobra strike attack. Her leg moves at lightning speed, pulling him into a cruel trap. She smirks, saying that this time he's the one who fell for it. But our boy, he flips the game around. And then he teaches her how to play top lane Riven and pull off insane combos. After several rounds on Summoner's Rift, they're both exhausted. Man, League of Legends is tiring. Yanaji complains, saying she can't believe this skinny dude managed to play for 6 hours straight. He, all slumped over, says it's her fault for provoking him. If that's what she meant by provoking, then yeah, she's 100% to blame. This girl is a menace. Since they're in a best-of-5 ranked series to hit gold, they queue up for one more match. Meanwhile, the day has already ended and Yudo receives a new mission. This time, he has to spend 50 coins by the end of the day. He suggests that maybe they should invest more into the company, but Yanaji thanks him and refuses. First, they need to recover from the damage caused recently. That alone is enough to push them to the next level. Then, out of nowhere, she plants a kiss on him, saying that's the easiest way to repay shareholders. For some reason, though, she's having trouble standing up. She collapses onto the floor, blaming him. He tells her to take the day off and rest. But even with her legs wobbly like instant noodles, she insists that she at least has enough strength to try walking a little. Meanwhile, our boy is already declaring that it's time for a nap, but that's when he gets a phone call from someone named Yamaguchi, saying his aunt is in the hospital. The scene shifts to the hospital. Yudo is sitting by the bed of an elderly woman. She weakly says that she's never felt as sick as she does now. Yudo reassures her, saying it's probably just the exhaustion of the year catching up to her, but she'll feel better soon. Yamaguchi, Yudo's best friend, talks about how he used to spend so much time at his house. His aunt would always cook for him, and he'd eat everything. Now he peels something, it might be a potato, maybe an apple, and asks her to take a bite. Yamaguchi was actually thinking of asking Yudo for a small loan, but after seeing all the recent scandals surrounding Yudo's company, he decides to let it go. That's when a nervous nurse rushes in with 2 doctors, muttering about room 42. A bald doctor says that Miss Yamaguchi needs to be moved to another room immediately. Her son, of course, demands to know what's going on. Yudo had already told them he would cover the medical bills in a few days, so they couldn't just throw her out like that. But that's when a nurse reveals that they received a mysterious donation of 1 yen from an unknown benefactor. Because of that, his aunt is being transferred to the VIP room. Yamaguchi looks completely baffled. Who would donate just 1 yen? The nurse confirms that they've already verified the donor, and so the trembling doctors carry the woman like royalty to her new room. For some reason, she's absolutely delighted, saying she wants to stay close to these handsome doctors. And just like that, the cheerful old lady is taken away. Now in the special treatment room, the doctors are even doing some little celebration dance for her. Yamaguchi turns to Yuto and says that this must be a dream come true. This is exactly what he needed. Yuto, without hesitation, punches him in the stomach. Almost kills the poor guy. He forgot that he has enhanced strength now. Yuto tells him that this is the price for keeping quiet instead of just asking for help. Yamaguchi apologizes, saying he was just hesitant to ask. But Yuto reassures him from now on, if he ever needs anything, just say the word. With that, our boy completes a secret mission and receives a new bonus talent. My eyes are a ruler. Just like us, he has no clue what that means, but whatever, right? Meanwhile, in a VIP room nearby, a girl named Yamadamika asks if she should call her younger brother. But the man in the hospital bed tells her it won't be necessary, he just had a long flight and needs time to recover. He then hands over some documents, saying that this project is extremely important to the company, so they can't afford to mess up. Since Mika has experience with this sort of thing, he's confident she can handle it. Mika reassures him she'll do her best to make sure everything goes smoothly. With that, she leaves, heading off to make it to university on time. But on her way, an old woman suddenly blocks her path and throws herself to the ground, grabbing onto Mika's legs out of nowhere. She then yells at Mika to watch where she's walking. Mika is confused, but immediately some random bystanders step in, saying they clearly saw Mika push the old lady. Another man approaches, demanding to know which university she attends because they're going to report her behavior. Enter our boy, Jika Chad Yuto. He casually catches Mika, keeping her from falling. At that moment, his new mystery talent activates. Because he was observing something interesting for just long enough, he instantly calculates the exact size of an F-36. He pauses. No way that was an F-36. It was a B or a C, so his system must be messed up. Meanwhile, the old lady is still clinging to Mika's legs, crying out for help. Mika, feeling guilty, admits that she was in a hurry, so maybe she bumped into her without realizing it. But Yuto immediately tells her not to admit to anything, otherwise she'll fall into their trap. Mika is totally lost. What does he mean by trap? Meanwhile, Yuto is trying to figure out how his new ability even works. He tells Mika that right when she was about 3 centimeters away from the old woman, the lady suddenly threw herself down. 3 centimeters is nothing, but okay. On top of that, there were several cameras conveniently positioned to make it look like Mika bumped into her. Yuto finds it really suspicious that so many cameras are capturing this from multiple angles. Mika agrees it's definitely sketchy. Yuto warns her that someone might be trying to set her up, so Mika calmly steps forward and politely apologizes, but says that, unfortunately, she never actually bumped into the woman. The old lady loses it, calling Mika shameless, saying that so many cameras caught her in the act. Mika simply says, if that's the case, then let's check the hospital's security camera footage. And of course, since technology has advanced, they'll slow the footage down by 1,000 times, so they can see the exact moment the old lady fell. As soon as the girl made that threat, the scammers, of course, ran off. She was sure there were a bunch of frauds, and Yuto asked if the hospital really had technology like that. But the sneaky girl admitted that it was a lie. She had no idea where the cameras were in this place. With that, the two of them realized that they were both a bit mischievous. Looks like the next victim is about to get weak in the knees. She then introduced herself as Yamada Mika and thanked him for the help. Our boy reached out for a handshake, but she just turned and walked away, telling him that if he wanted, he could visit her at the university. Yuto wondered if this girl wasn't at least a little suspicious. How does she just invite someone out of nowhere like that? That's when he noticed. It was already 6 in the evening. Back at his apartment, he decided to watch some live streams to brighten up his day. If there's one thing that always happens in Chinese stories, it's a streamer duel where the rich guy donates money. Every time I see this, I wonder, does this actually happen in China? Like one-on-one streamer battles on platforms where the winner is the one who gets the most donations? I've never seen that anywhere else. What I do see is a girl telling viewers to support Kari, blowing a kiss with lots of enthusiasm. Meanwhile, another girl, Kumanin, is begging for more votes so she doesn't lose. Then Kari smirks, saying it looks like she's going to win, and wonders what punishment the loser will have to endure. Since the girl is a gamer, maybe they should force her to play with her feet. At that moment, Yuto's My Eyes Are a Ruler talent activates after he's been staring long enough. He comments that the girl's legs are nice, but the proportions look off, probably because the table looks warped. Yukachi, completely offended, snaps back at him, saying he's making things up since she's had this body since the beginning of the stream. I mean, she probably meant since birth, right? Not since the start of the stream? Actually, not since birth either, since she grew over time, but you get the idea. What I don't get is why our boy got instantly banned within half a second. Obviously, the girl went right back to her little dance routine. And we already know what's coming. Our boy is about to cause some trouble. If he can't interact with one streamer, then he'll just talk to the other one. Kumiden is in full panic mode, saying the PK battle is almost over and she needs help. That's when someone suddenly donates 5 yachts to her. Of course, both girls are completely shocked, even though that donation probably costs like 30 cents. And just like that, Kumiden starts dominating the battle. She's all happy, showering thanks. Meanwhile, Yukachi is squinting hard. She realizes that this Yuto is the same guy she just banned. Now she's desperately pulling out the most bizarre dance moves possible, trying to survive. But it's already over. Yuto drops 10 more yachts for Kumiden, completely sealing the win. Yukachi knows she has no chance anymore, while the bear girl is celebrating hard, saying it's time for the punishment. Our boy even sends a public message across all the streams telling Yukachi that blocking him won't help. The desperate girl immediately leans forward, apologizing, saying she'll accept any punishment. Meanwhile, Yuto gets some direct messages from Kumin, or rather, Meridian. Yeah, Meridian sounds way cuter. She thanks him for the donation but says, unfortunately, she has nothing to offer him in return. However, if he wants, he can request a refund. Yuto figures she's probably freaking out over the amount, but he doesn't care. He tells her not to worry, it wasn't that much. That's when she notices his location, realizing he lives in Musashi District, and suggests that maybe they could meet for dinner. Yuto isn't too excited about it. He knows these streamer girls only care about scamming fools for money. But she's paying for dinner, he's curious to see what she'll try. Back at Meridian's house, the girl's room is full of designer bags, and her mother is there, complaining that her daughter leaves her alone all day. Meridian steps out of her room and says streaming is a real job, but now she's here to chat with her beloved mother. However, the woman responds that Meridian already makes plenty of money, so she shouldn't even be working in streaming. After all, the necklace she's wearing, for example, costs 43 yen, which is something she'll never earn from streaming. But Meridian just sticks her tongue out playfully, saying she streams for fun, not for money. Besides, she met someone really interesting today. Her mother immediately warns her to stop getting interested in people from live streams. She should have already accepted that her marriage will be arranged with the son of the famous company owner. Meridian tries to argue, but her mother just tells her to go talk to her father. Sometime later, our boy is in the city, wanting to grab some drinks at an izakaya. Fried chicken and beer would be perfect, so off he goes. But at the place, someone is begging for patience because they're late on rent. A woman with curlers in her hair, however, says she doesn't do charity. If he doesn't have the money, he should just disappear. And if he doesn't pay up soon, she'll seize all his kitchen equipment. The poor guy tries to refuse, but it's too late. She's already ordered her Walmart-tiered gangsters to take everything. He keeps pleading, saying he just received a special order and will have the money soon. But even then, he gets shoved aside. That's when someone grips the thug's shoulder. It's our boy Yuto, and the goon can't even move. Yuto asks if the man is the owner of the place and how much the rent costs. The woman, unimpressed, just asks who he is. And then she asks if he's planning to pay on the guy's behalf. She reminds him that she was already cutting him a deal out of pity, but since the area is going through some changes, she has no choice but to raise the rent. The owner complains, saying she always finds an excuse to increase the price. She doesn't care. The other nearby shops also belong to her, and she's renting them out to a major company for 2 yen per month. Yuto pulls out his phone and makes a call, while the woman smugly says that if he pays 1 yen per month, she might let him keep the place. He calls Fujiwara, already thanking him in advance. That guy owns the entire city, and Yuto simply tells the woman she doesn't need to discuss anything with him anymore. She looks confused, asking what Yuto plans to do. It's not like he has any power here. After all these buildings belong to her. Once again, she orders her goons to kick everyone out. But our boy unleashes the crane stance attack, open-arm style, and in one swift motion, knocks both thugs to the ground. Of course, the woman is horrified by Yuto's brutal takedown and immediately calls for the police. That's when Yuto casually drops a bombshell. He discovered that she only has the rights to use the commercial property, not own it. Where did he even pull that information from? Then, he reveals that he, on the other hand, just bought the entire area. Now, everyone is staring at him, waiting for his next move. Meanwhile, the woman is trembling, demanding to know what he's planning. Yuto says he's going to renovate the whole area by demolishing everything. Obviously, no one would want to rent anything there afterward. He doesn't care. A few hundred yen is just spare change to him. It's literally spare change, but now the woman is panicking. She immediately drops to her knees, begging for forgiveness. Usually, when waifus get on their knees, it's great, but not this one. She desperately offers to cut the rent in half and even cover the water bills. Yuto immediately agrees if that's the case. Shout out to whoever designed this insane system, because now I have to rotate my screen in Photoshop just to read it. Something about fighting against corrupt companies. And it looks like Yuto just gained a new talent, one that alerts him when someone is trying to scam him. Meanwhile, the fried chicken guy is grilling up a feast, saying that everything tonight is on the house for Yuto. Yuto thanks the old man and says that he's always been a fan of this place, so he'll be coming by even more often now. The old man smiles and says he understands why. He explains that he's not bragging, but the recipe is truly one of a kind, passed down through generations. Suddenly, someone nearby makes a snide remark about how it's funny seeing a millionaire eating street food. It's Miss Wobbly Legs, who just shrugs and says that at least it tastes good. Yudo can't help but think that this damn woman has no idea how much she had to spend just to get this fried chicken. As he brings the skewer closer to his nose, he notices something smells off. She, however, misunderstands completely, thinking he's trying to sniff her. She smirks and says that if he wants to smell her, he can just come over to her place later. Yudo completely ignores that nonsense and suddenly switches the subject. He tells her that he invited her here today to talk about a new company he wants to start. She immediately asks if she's going to be hired as his secretary, saying that would be perfect. He admits that he hasn't thought much about it yet, but the company will be an investment firm and its main office will be in this area. She excitedly says that if that's the case, she'll help him find the perfect location since she knows the city inside and out. Then she orders more food to take home, while Yudo is turning red for some reason. A little while later, she switches to full romance mode. She tells him he needs to stop cheating on her with other girls while she's working so hard. Yeah, this one has already fallen for him. Yudo quickly denies everything, saying he'd never do something like that. But she just sniffs the air and says she smells another woman on him, so he better not lie. She won't ask for much, just that he calls her whenever he needs something. Pretty demanding, huh? He agrees, and with that, she heads home. However, someone suspicious is watching them from a distance. Yudo's system sends a warning, and he immediately knows something is about to happen. Suddenly, he grabs Mayumi's hands, acting like he's in terrible stomach pain. He tells her that he might have food poisoning, so it's better if she heads home alone. She sighs and says that's fine, but if he cancels next time, they'll have to spend twice as much time with her. Yudo just says, got it, and waves her off, saying it won't happen again. Then he quickly turns around and calls out for the hidden person to show themselves. Out steps the Zoro Hat squad with their leader complimenting Yudo's sharp instincts. However, the guy also says that unfortunately for Yudo, he messed with the wrong person. Looks like this assassin isn't exactly a pro, because the best weapon they have to kill him is a baseball bat. The first thug swings, but Yudo dodges with ease. The second one comes at him, and Yudo grabs the bat with his bare hand, which is insane. He could have shattered his wrist doing that. But turns out it wasn't easy at all. He almost broke his own hand in the process. Even with his system bonuses, this guy is still too strong for him. Channeling his inner Spider-Man, Yudo dodges gracefully, telling them there's no need for violence. Solving things with money would be much easier. But the thug cuts him off, saying that the person Yudo messed with doesn't care about money. And now, Yudo is going to pay the price. The guy moves in for the final blow when suddenly, someone grips his shoulder. A bunch of people appear, applauding and praising the actor's performance, saying he's really well prepared for the film. When I called them the Zoro Hat Squad, I didn't think this was actually going to happen. Turns out, the little troublemaker saw everything and hired a bunch of extras to interfere with the fight. Yuto is stunned, but before he can react, she makes things even messier by throwing money into the air. With so many witnesses around, the assassin has no choice but to give up. Yuto tells the guy it's best to just walk away now, because this is only going to get worse for him. Even the assassin's own henchmen look emotional, since the random women in the crowd remind them of their grandmothers. With no other option, the thugs run away. People around them ask what they should do now that the actors have left. The girl just grins, saying that everyone can keep the money, and they'll talk again next time. The only mystery left for Yudo is who exactly sent those 3 guys after him. The next day, he's back at the first bank where he made his deposits. The curvy bank attendant walks in, sighing about how it's been a long night. Suddenly, someone shouts, accusing her of just slacking off at work. 2 men approach, saying that a bank must maintain a professional image, and she is far from professional. They start scolding her, but it seems like the girl has no idea who this guy even is. Suddenly, the big boss appears, wondering why there's so much commotion so early in the morning. The girl greets Fujiwara, who tells Natsuki that he's about to introduce someone to her. He begins explaining, one of the men here is the owner of a major group in Asia. Another is a top investor from somewhere else. Yet another owns an investment firm of some sort. Long story short, there are a bunch of important big shots here, and she has no clue why they're all gathered in one place. The boss apologizes for the mess and invites them all to head straight to the VIP room. Seems like everyone here wants to meet Matsushima. And of course, that's our protagonist's first name. Naturally, Natsuki knows that name all too well. One of the men comments that maybe Yudo could help train the bank's employees, and the boss thanks him for the idea. With that, the girl leans forward enthusiastically, thanking them and asking for everyone's support. It seems like she meant it as a little challenge, which immediately annoys the men, making them furious that Yudo has a secretary like her. Poor Yudo is completely confused, insisting that he's not using any kind of power, she's just an employee at the bank. Meanwhile, Natsuki receives a call from Yudo, who is making another deposit. Of course, the moment everyone hears his name, they become instantly interested. The boss explains that Yudo calls Natsuki directly because she was the first person he met when he arrived here. Immediately, everyone's attitude toward her changes. They start saying that it would be great to have someone like her as a secretary and that she's amazing. Sometime later, the girl is exhausted. She arrives home and Yudo is already there. Now it all makes sense. This was part of their plan all along. They've gotten closer so they can figure out who's hunting Yudo down. She's tired because to hide his whereabouts, she took multiple buses and taxis to make sure no one could follow her. Yudo is now convinced it's not someone from the bank, so maybe it's someone connected to the live streaming world. His phone buzzes with a message from Meridian, saying she'll be waiting for him at a restaurant at 6 p.m. For him, this is the perfect opportunity to quickly identify who's after him. The scene changes to a restaurant. A staff member asks Yudo if he has a reservation, since this place is strictly for important people. Yudo was a bit confused. He didn't even know the restaurant worked like that. The employee says that he can leave his name on the waitlist or hope for an available seat. But before he can respond, another employee cuts in, scolding the first guy. He tells him not to make those kinds of offers to people who clearly can't afford to dine here. The first employee immediately bows and apologizes before hurrying off. Then, the rude guy turns to Yudo, saying that they're not accepting job applications right now. Now that's a serious insult. Still a little confused, Yudo picks up his phone when Meridian calls, asking where he is. He explains that he's in the hotel lobby, but is being denied entry. A short time later, she taps him on the shoulder and asks if he's Yudo. The foolish security guard immediately realizes they know each other and stiffens up in panic. That's when Yudo calmly tells him that he's not here to apply for a job, he's actually here to eat. The guard immediately apologizes for being rude, wishing him a pleasant evening. Yudo, too lazy to cause trouble, simply asks where they'll be sitting. Meridian tells him to come along, it's going to be amazing. She had even prepared some beautiful lilies of the valley for the occasion. At the table, the waiter asks if she wants her usual order. She says yes, but she also wants to hear Yudo's opinion. After all, he's her sponsor. Yudo just shrugs, saying he's never been here before, so he'll just have whatever she's having. The waiter laughs, commenting that this is a typical response from someone who isn't used to high-end dining. The waiter sets a trap, casually asking if the lady would like her usual wine. She says yes, but Yudo, broken humble, wants nothing to do with wine. He just asks for a simple carbonated drink. However, the waiter explains that they only serve wine here. After all, a truly wealthy person would never choose a soft drink over something of quality. Yudo, already out of patience, just asks if they have anything carbonated at all. The waiter sighs and says they might find something in the kitchen. As he walks away, he grumbles about how ridiculous it is that a poor guy like this is dining with Miss Merum. He glances at another poorly dressed customer at a nearby table and wonders why this place is attracting such a low-class crowd. At the same time, a shady-looking guy is wondering where all the beautiful women are. Then he locks eyes on Merum and immediately falls for her. He turns to his wife, or at least that's what I think she is, and calls her honey, saying that it's time for the next round. She looks at him, asking if he's really going to force her to do this again. Now I'm getting a little worried. What exactly is this couple planning? Meanwhile, at Yudo's table, a king crab dish arrives. Man, I've never eaten this stuff before. Someone tell me what it tastes like. Meridian stands up, saying she's going to the bathroom, but Yudo can go ahead and eat without her. The moment she leaves, that shady woman from before approaches Yudo, asking if he's really going to eat something that delicious all alone. She smirks, saying that it's thick, creamy, and would be very satisfying to eat. Then she leans in close and asks if she can take a little bite. This woman is really something else. Obviously, Yudo is wondering who the hell this lunatic is. She just tells him not to worry. She'll pay for it, leaving him completely confused. Yudo chuckles, saying that it's hilarious how even in a 5-star restaurant, there are people who come to beg for food. The woman's face darkens. She turns around angrily, telling him that he's going to pay for this. As she walks past his chair, she bumps her hip against his armrest. Then she suddenly accuses him, asking why he did something so inappropriate all of a sudden. Yudo, completely lost, says he didn't touch her at all. But she just tells him to stop playing dumb. She dramatically declares that it's outrageous for him to assault her like that and then try to deny it. Then she grabs a glass of water and throws it straight at Yudo. But Yudo simply dodges and the water lands on some poor bald guy at another table instead. Right at that moment, Meridian returns, saying that the woman is taking things way too far. But the crazy wife snaps back, saying that Yudo is the one who crossed the line and that he should apologize. She also tells Meridian to stay out of it if she doesn't even know who she's dealing with. Then a staff member appears, addressing someone as Ito-sama, saying that they've checked the security cameras. At first, I thought this was just part of another setup, but no. It's the actual restaurant staff confirming that the woman is lying. Even so, the woman refuses to admit it, saying that they must be mistaken. She claims that she just slightly tripped and Yudo took advantage of the moment. Meridian completely ignores her and tells the restaurant staff that they should inform all restaurants in the area about this woman. Apparently, she goes around trying to frame people for harassment. It would be better to have her banned from every restaurant. The staff member nods immediately, and the woman starts panicking, wondering who the hell Meridian even is to have so much influence. Then, to make things worse, Meridian takes out her phone and snaps a picture. She announces that she's going to post it on social media to warn everyone about this crazy woman. Turning to Yudo, she grins and says that this is all because he made that donation, so she's going to help him however she can. The crazy wife completely loses it. It looks like this was actually her entire business, scamming people at restaurants. Suddenly, her husband, the pathetic fool, steps in, apologizing. He says that his wife must have had a bit too much to drink and lost control. As an apology, he'll cover the cost of everyone's meal. but he begs them not to have her banned. The wife tries to protest, but the husband just tells her to shut up, apologize, and leave. If there's one angle that artists love to draw, it's this one. She bows in shame and apologizes. Meridian sits down, and the man introduces himself as Shouta Najima. She turns to Yudo, asking if he wants to accept the guy's offer to pay for their food. Yudo just shrugs. If it's free, why refuse? But of course he's dealing with a sly little streamer, and she immediately questions him. She asks if he's absolutely sure he wants Najima to cover everything. The man smiles confidently, saying yes, and even tells her to order whatever she wants. In the next scene, a ridiculously expensive wine, probably worth millions, is being served. The man sits back thinking that his plan was a bit messy, but there's still time to fix things. He's going to make it very clear to the girl that he's the one who can afford everything, making him a much better option than this broke kid who probably saved up for months just to be here. If she's the type to go for excitement, she'll end up with him tonight. If she's a bit more reserved, he just needs to repeat this a few more times and eventually it'll all go his way. Meanwhile, Meridian suddenly gets up, inviting Yudo to take a walk through the city with her. The pathetic guy is left sitting there trying to process what just happened. Are they really leaving without even saying goodbye? In desperation, he quickly steps in front of them, saying that he's heading in the same direction too. But Meridian tilts her head, asking why he doesn't just stay behind and chat a bit longer. The guy awkwardly tries to salvage the situation, saying that at the very least, they should exchange numbers. But she simply refuses, and right on cue, one of the restaurant staff members appears, stopping the man, telling him that he needs to settle the bill before leaving. The total cost? 3.20 rins. Not a kidney, in case you were wondering. But considering how expensive this place is, it might as well have cost an organ. Still, the price hits like a truck, and the guy realizes he just got played. Meanwhile, Meridian walks away laughing, saying that it's always fun to mess with fools who think they can just buy women so easily. But she also teases him a little, saying that if he really couldn't afford to pay the bill, she would have covered it for him. The guy completely snaps. He raises his hand, ready to slap her. But that's when our Jigachad Yudo catches his wrist midair, stopping him effortlessly. And with a calm but chilling voice, he asks, "What exactly do you think you're doing?" At the moment, the fool asked who our boy was affiliated with, to which he replied that he wasn't part of any group. Strangely, the crazy guy then said he was sure that meant he must be the owner of the area and invited him to the south side to see how he would be treated there as well. The little streamer just grabbed our boy's arm and left. Sometime later, somewhere else, our boy was coming down the stairs and celebrating his arrival. Sweaty and worried, the girl recognized that it was Uncle Yamada. This guy is the vice president of the development bank, so why is he here? That's what our boy wondered. It was only then that the guy noticed that Meridian was right next to him. All clumsy, he ran up to our boy, grabbed his hands, and said it was an honor to meet someone like him. At the same moment, that other old investor arrived to hug our boy too. Every Chinese drama is basically a scene of our boy surrounded by old men. Sometime later, outside, our boy, holding a coin, said that he would accept the offer from whoever found out who had attacked him. The old guys looked confident, guaranteeing that the next investment was secured in that case. Each one ran to their little Hot Wheels car and took off. Meridian apologized, saying he was exposed because of the post she made, and asked if he wanted her to delete her social media man. He told her not to worry, that he could handle it easily. At that moment, another guy appeared and told him to wait a second. Our boy didn't understand what this loser Najima still wanted with him, to which the guy replied that it was time to give him the treatment he deserved. He told his brothers to get ready, and everyone reached for something under their coats. The protagonist looked scared, until suddenly the guys pulled out coconut water. Even Meridian stood there, devastated, not understanding what they were doing. And the guys started drinking, spilling it all over themselves. What is this? They started dancing, saying this was the delicious coconut water from the south, and asked if he wanted to try it. Yudo had no idea what this guy was up to. Then suddenly, the guy grabbed his leg, begging for investment and admitting he was wrong. He said that if Yudo wanted to find out who tried to kill him, he could help with that too. After all, he knew the underground scene well. Yudo just said, "All right then," and decided to let him participate. Right at that moment, the restaurant owner came over, bringing a VIP card for our boy, and wanting to know if he was satisfied with today's service. Humble as ever, Yudo replied that there wasn't anything too bad. The only thing he wanted to mention was that manager who called him poor for drinking soda instead of wine. The guy was shocked and realized he was screwed, and the boss had already warned that this kind of behavior would not be tolerated. The scene then shifts to the protagonist's sister saying goodbye to someone. It's that girl from the hospital, and it looks like they met at university. Saki-chan was all happy, saying she was lucky to meet Yamada. She's teaching her a lot and seems focused on helping the girl. Not to mention, she was considered a genius at this university. And as she arrived at her room, 3 girls were already waiting there. Obviously, the poor, innocent fool asked what they were talking about. She's about to get roasted for sure. Before the girls could respond, she already noticed that all of her notebooks had been thrown in the trash. She went to grab them, wanting to know what had happened. And that wretched, gorgeous, wicked girl, what a danger. She said she thought Saki wasn't going to use them, so she put them there. Saki-chan went over to her bed and wanted to know why everything was wet too. Man, Another healthy-looking troublemaker said she accidentally spilled some milk and apologized. The villains are all this dangerous. What a nightmare. Obviously, the last one was just as bad and asked if she had a problem with that. Poor Saki-chan, with her fool's face, glanced behind her, just feeling the pressure of the three monsters staring her down. Right at that moment, Chad walked in through the door, wanting to know if it was true that they were bullying his sister. Ma'am, looks like everyone ended up in the principal's office. Saki turned around and told him not to worry, that she was fine, while the rugby player and the two hot girls stood there looking awkward. Why is this girl wearing that dress in the middle of college? Girl, this isn't a party. Yudo told Saki not to worry because Big Bro was here. The principal then said that, as she had explained, it seemed like there was a case of bullying happening in Saki's room. Our boy greeted Miss Saway and asked her to explain everything properly. After all, he knew that if they let this slide, things would only get worse for his sister. The woman said she understood that very well, which is why she called him there. And then the principal asked Saki to explain why she was being bullied. Our meme is just as confused and wants to know why the principal is talking as if this was his sister's fault. Out of nowhere, the three fools started looking ugly as hell, crying, saying they were scared of that girl who completely wrecked them. Yudo, still confused, asked his sister what was going on. Then we see what happened just before, when she turned around and faced the three. Man, I think she really was about to beat them up. She went running. All strong and beautiful, she grabbed the first one's head, pulled her hair, revealing the poor girl's bald spot. Then she grabbed the wet blanket, wrapped up the other clumsy one, and said that now she would help dry it up. The second troublemaker called for a cane, the rugby player, who came running to take Saki down. But Saki just dodged, grabbed the girl by the arm, and slammed her onto the floor. The fools just lay there frozen while Saki apologized, warning them not to mess with anyone from the Matsushima family. That's when Yudo remembered that his damn sister had been carrying fish like crazy since she was 9 and was a menace when it came to fights. Even so, he turned to the principal and said that his sister wasn't the type of person who liked to fight. Someone must have provoked her for this to happen. But the principal put her hand on our boy and said they needed to talk in another room. She then explained that maybe what he said was true. However, the three witnesses confirmed the same story, and even Saki admitted she had hit them. The best option was for his sister to apologize, for everyone to make up, and for the school to keep an eye on things to see how they developed. Strangely, Yudo just accepted it and said fine, he'd leave it to her. Then he went over to the girls again and said they should discuss a way to reconcile outside. But those tight dress-wearing troublemakers wanted a very sincere apology, and in China, sincerity means money. Our boy made a little signal and said he'd be very sincere. They could meet to worry. Right then, a guy came running down the hall telling Matsushima he had brought what he asked for. Our boy had bought some bags, perfumes, and even a phone for these lunatics. And they immediately said that was more than enough sincerity. But the boy is cold and calculated. He threw everything on the ground and said he might hand it over. Only that kind of luxury item didn't match people like them. Then he told them to just say why they did this to his sister. The three fools were shocked. They thought they were getting those fancy bags so easily. But Yudo warned them that he'd think they were smarter if they just confessed already. After all, he was going to find out eventually. Then the one in the party dress said they really had no problem with Saki. They were paid by some guy from another department to mess with her. She then showed a picture of the dude with a helicopter cap, saying they were paid by this guy named Shinji Yamada. Obviously, our boy didn't like hearing that one bit. The scene then cuts to the girls' dormitory. Looks like our boy got a room and told Saki to stay there, that she didn't have to go back to that place. Seems like we're in some kind of dorm, and he got one for her. She thanked him, saying she was going to look around because she wanted to find someone she knew. In another room, probably in the same apartment, we see what I think is Yamada trying to fix, or actually struggling to fix something in the sink. Right after, she saw Saki in the room across from hers, turned around and recognized her. All swag and exhausted, she gave a little wave, saying it was a coincidence that they ended up so close to each other. Right away, seeing her friend's room all soaked, she asked if there was a problem. Yamada said yes, that she was about to call someone to help fix it. But then giant-sized Saki said she'd handle it, and she went over to fix it too, of course. Strangely, Yudo felt like something was off in the air. Looking to the side, he saw the sly one who recognized him as the guy from the hospital. Right away, he remembered that she had mentioned she would show him the university. But she thought he was some kind of creepy stalker and had come all the way there just to follow her. She said she was calling the police. The poor guy was misunderstood and quickly explained that he was just helping his hardworking little sister, because she was moving into the room across from hers. Then the system told him to help the girl because someone was about to take advantage of her. Just then, Saki appeared, saying it was a coincidence that they knew each other and announcing that she had already fixed it. Yamada was impressed that it was done so quickly. While Saki asked our boy what was wrong, Yudo was just there, trying to figure out what that system message meant. Then Yamada went to turn on the sink, thanking her for fixing it. But something very tragic happened, something that made everyone watching this video very sad. The poor girl got soaked. Rest in peace, girl. Saki was there, laughing at the fool. Sometime later, Yudo was still thinking about this whole saving thing. He imagined himself telling her to be careful, but he was sure she'd just think he was crazy. Saki already noticed her brother was thinking about the girl, and told him not to worry, that she would help him be very happy. As in, help him with the other girl, of course, come on now. Sometime later, Yamada seemed healthy as ever, saying that now everything was really fixed. Saki invites her to an apology dinner, reassuring her that her brother won't be there. Yamada thanks her, saying it's perfect because she was also planning to take her to a place nearby. Yudo realizes this is the perfect chance to gather information. It looks like he even included his sister in the plan. This kid is something else. Now he just had to deal with that cap-wearing guy. Sometime later, under the scorching sun, he picks up his phone and asks if he should go to the Kurobiyama race circuit. Man, these Japanese names can be long sometimes. The American football player confirms, saying Shinji Yamada is always there. Yudo then spots a guy nearby talking about race betting, and warns the rugby player that if she messes with his sister again, things won't be so easy next time. She just thanks him and waves goodbye. But right at that moment, a guard blocks Yudo, saying the area is VIP only. Our boy wants to know how to become one, and the guy says it's not possible. Only official members with cards can enter that place. Yudo looks around and notices a humble little motorbike, asking whose it is. The guy says it's his, which is why he can be inside. So our boy just hands him a bunch of money. The guy is shocked. Yudo has already grabbed the bike, calling it a beast. Meanwhile, someone is complimenting Shinji's cool car. It must have cost a fortune. Shinji tells Fuji that yeah, he made some modifications, added automation, and upgraded the engine. As he goes on about everything he spent money on, someone comes speeding in on a tiny motorbike. Man, our boy zooms past, does a stunt, and lands right on Shinji's car. This guy is bold as hell. The bastard even comments that apparently the upgrades weren't on durability since it broke so easily. Shinji nearly explodes. He hadn't even raced yet. He's already on the ground, crying, not understanding why Yudo did this. Yudo tells him not to worry, that he'll pay for it. But before that, they need to settle the matter of bullying his sister. At that moment, Shinji realizes who the protagonist is, and it turns out this is about how he ruined his friend's life. The guy from the airport, maybe? Poor dude had to transfer schools. That's why they're messing with his sister. Unless Yudo agrees to a race and the loser has to kneel and apologize. Yudo says fine, but if he wins, Shinji has to kneel before his sister. Shinji agrees but wants to know what car Yudo will be racing in. The bold one says not to worry, his little bike still has gas. Obviously, Shinji smirks, thinking this will be an easy win. With 3 Ferraris on the track and Yudo on his tiny ride, they all take off, and of course he's dead last. Shinji's car is decked out and he's happy. Spending money is always a thrill. There's no way he's letting that bastard get away unscathed. He sticks his hand out and gives a thumbs down, saying he's sure Yudo is scared to die on the track. Honestly, I'd be scared too. But Yudo stays confident, saying only idiots rush to win. Wait, when did this bastard get racing skills? Does he have some kind of talent? Oh, it's all clear now. He made a call and asked if the team was ready. Helicopters fill the sky, and it's obvious this bastard is going to solve things with money again. A rain of spike strips starts popping tires left and right. The fools are out of their cars, demanding to know where it came from. Unfortunately, Shinji managed to dodge all of them. But to do so, he had to slow down, and in that window, Yudo overtook him. Now it all makes sense, right, folks? Our boy has always worked as a delivery driver. So when it comes to handling a bike, this kid has talent. Shinji is fuming, obviously refusing to let this bastard win, and starts speeding up to run it over. Yudo can't believe the guy is really trying to hit him, but the fool just tells him to get out of the way or die. Strangely, Shinji lets go of the bike and throws a punch. Does he think he's the Hulk? Somehow, Shinji crashes into the wall, but when he gets out, Yudo is nowhere to be seen. Turns out, this bastard is 007. He was already in a helicopter and climbing down from above. Right then, he tells Shinji that since he crashed, he can't keep racing, meaning he lost. Sometime later, Yudo tells him to kneel and apologize. He's recording it to show his sister. Shinji says no way in hell he's doing that. Then Twilight's Edward Cullen shows up, saying the loser has to obey. But since he was actually the first to win, Shinji doesn't have to follow Yudo's orders. Shinji thanks him, relieved that Fuji won. But Yudo asks if they really want to twist his words like that. The bet was between him and Shinji for what he did to his sister. Shinji starts getting nervous and asks if Yudo wants to settle this with fists instead. Man, but before that, Yamada appears and smacks the fool across the face, telling him that if his father won't discipline him, she will. The guy responds, calling her big sis. Oh man, now our boy has to wreck this fool. It's the perfect revenge. Night falls, and I don't know if this girl is a werewolf, but she just grew a lot. She warns Shinji that their parents didn't raise him to be acting like this all over the city. The fool tries to say something, but she just responds that she's disappointed in him. He clutches her legs, begging for forgiveness, admitting that he was wrong. Once again, Yudo is shocked to find out that she's his sister. Man, does this kid already have Alzheimer? She awkwardly explains that yes, Shinji is her younger brother. Then Saki appears and explains that she had told Yamada why she moved. And at the time, Yamada got so mad that she came over to beat up the fool. What she wants to know now is what Yuto is doing here. Before he can answer, Twilight's fool says Shinji should hurry up and apologize. It's the only way to save whatever is left of his reputation. He also introduces himself as Fuji and warns Yudo to be careful since he's from the Bunnan region. It seems like a rich place because Yudo just tells him that beyond bragging about where they're from, he couldn't care less. And he couldn't care less about this fool's reputation either. Man, he punched so hard that he nearly wrecked the entire car. Yeah, no kidding, this guy has 3 times the strength of a normal human. He walks up to Shinji and warns that if he doesn't bow his head, he'll have to help him do it. The fool wants to ask his sister for help, but she just says he has to take responsibility for his actions. The next second, he's already at Saki's feet, begging for forgiveness. But Yudo is a menace and tells him he has to shout louder or she won't hear. Fuji, the Twilight fool, is fuming, swearing that bastard will pay for all this. But Saki says it's fine and they should just head home. She wants to spend time with Yamada. Her friend suggests they go shopping and Seki celebrates, saying she might even borrow Yamada's clothes. But our boy chimes in that Yamada's clothes won't fit her. The 2 girls have pretty similar measurements, but he's sure it would be too tight. Obviously, the girls are confused about how he even knows their measurements. This kid is staring at all the wonders of the world. His talent must be activating constantly. Meanwhile, Fuji wants to know what Yudo's relationship with Yamada is. Obviously, Shinji is also twisting up, wanting to know the same thing, telling her to get in the car. Unfortunately for these side characters, she refuses, saying she doesn't even like sports cars. The guy insists, saying she can't just stay there. Yuno only has some tiny bike and it can't fit 3 people. When suddenly, another car pulls up. Someone tells them to get that piece of trash out of the way. I'm not sure, but I think it's that crazy restaurant guy. Yep, it's him, Nejima. Neji wants to know what he's doing here, but the guy just tells him to move and that he doesn't need to explain himself. Fuji, however, tells him to back down since, without his family's support, he wouldn't have achieved anything. But Nejima completely ignores him upon seeing our boy and goes to greet him. He whispers something in his ear, then turns to the girls, saying that if they're Yudo's friends, they can go with him. His sister, a little confused, asks Yudo if they can trust this lunatic. What if he kidnaps them? Yudo says it's fine and tells them not to worry. Seki's already pulling her along, telling her to just come. The crazy guy even hands Yuto the wheel, calling him the boss. Meanwhile, Shinji is in tears, apologizing to Neji, saying he did everything he could. The guy is barely holding in his rage, he already lost Mika, but he can't afford to lose his status with Yamada too. So he asks Shinji how the negotiations with their father are going, but Shinji says he hasn't heard anything yet. The guy taunts him, saying he's sure his sister already knows though. Looks like he's doomed to live forever in her shadow. Shinji is visibly shaken, demanding to know what he means by that. And Nejima realizes his plan is working. The next scene shows our boy speeding through the streets. Or, actually no, it's not him. What? Didn't they tell him to drive? Why is this bastard at the wheel now? Yudo asks Nejima what he knows about those guys. Nejima simply explains that Fuji is the second son of a rich family from Bonin, but at the same time he's considered a disgrace. Yudo immediately wants to know why. Nejima explains that the kid was always a spoiled brat obsessed with getting good grades. He played piano chess and was theoretically the perfect child. His sister chimes in, wanting to know what's wrong with that. Nejima explains that the problem was that he got beaten up by his parents and a bunch of other people in the region, because everyone kept comparing them to that bastard. But now the tables have turned and everyone has their revenge. This guy is done for. Yudo thought Nejima was going to have a much worse story than this. Turns out the bastard next to him isn't that much better either. Sometime later, they're dropping Yamada off at home. She thanks them for the day. Yudo finds it a little odd since there's still 1 kilometer left until the school. Saki explains that she probably doesn't want to arrive in a luxury car, which is why she prefers to walk from there. Then Yudo steps out of the car too, saying he'll walk with her. Strangely, is he really about to leave these 2 alone like that? Follow those lunatics or they'll get run over in the middle of the street. Meanwhile, Nejima comments that the kid is incredible. He has 2 beautiful flowers right in his hands to enjoy. Instead of clearing up the misunderstanding about one being his sister, he's only focused on finding the 3 guys who attacked him. Nejima says they already figured out who they are, and all Yudo has to do is give the order to take them down. But Yudo warns him that he doesn't want to get the police involved in this, so he better be careful. Sometime later, they arrive at a place that looks like a castle. Man, this place is full of high-level gold diggers. They're staring at the car, wondering who had the guts to pull up in an old piece of junk like that. Turns out the girl on the right is just dumb. The one on the left recognizes it's McLaren and says it's worth millions. The other girl immediately realizes she messed up. Meanwhile, the one in the little dress grabs Nejima's hand, saying his car is incredible. She asks for his number, and he says he'll give it to her, after spending some time with her later. Man, they really just need a McLaren, because the girl already calls it perfect. But he better not break this promise. Meanwhile, our boy asks Nejima what kind of place this is. Nejima has taken him to the House of the Nighttime Friends, and he says that in this life, money isn't always everything. Now I'm confused. I'm not 100% sure this is the House of the Nighttime Friends. But considering there's a guy sitting on a couch with 2 girls next to him, what else could it be? In another part of the place, Nejima says the guy who hunted him down is right next door. He runs everything here so no information slips past him. Then a guy walks into the room saying Majima can ask for whatever he wants. Yudo says he wants all the recordings from the room next door. But it turns out Nejima doesn't have as much authority as it seemed, because the guy says that in a place like this, privacy is everything. If people find out that footage leaked, he'll lose all credibility. But our boy just flips a 1 yen coin at the security guy and tells him to pull up the cameras. If that's not enough, he even offers 2 yens. At 5 yens, the guy is already shaking. But when he doesn't respond, Yudo says that's it. He won't raise the offer any further. Of course, the guy immediately grabs his hand, telling him to wait. If he's really offering 5 yens, the footage will be ready in no time. Next scene, the guys are already in front of a TV, saying everything's set up. Nejima keeps complaining, but admits this really is the easiest way. Yudo is watching the footage of a guy with his friends, saying he doesn't want to see this kind of thing, but he needs to know why he's being hunted. Yeah, this is getting kind of weird. Just 2 guys watching this dude like that. Then the guy pulls some Venom-type move, and the honest worker tells him that if he's planning something like that, he's going to have to pay extra. But the guy says he's taking it easy. She has no idea what his boss did to get a certain girl from the hospital. The girl is confused and asks him to tell the story. He tells her to come closer, then explains. His boss doesn't like girls who are too healthy. He prefers them exhausted, trapped, with no escape and no options. First, he wants to destroy the girl's dignity and reputation. Oh man, the target is Yamada. And once she's desperate, with no options left in life, he swoops in to save her. When someone is in that kind of situation and finds a helping hand, they always give in. The girl obviously responds that this is a pretty twisted, messed up hobby. And clearly, the guy isn't mentally stable. The guy just shrugs, saying it doesn't matter. His boss is the one in charge. Besides, someone got in the way of his boss's plans and now he has to get revenge. Wait a second, I just realized who this bastard is. It's that scar-faced, top hat-wearing guy. The one who told our boy they would get their revenge. The girl then asks who the boss is. Not because she's curious, but because she wants to avoid this lunatic. But the guy just says he's not dumb enough to drop his boss's name in a place like this. When suddenly someone walks into the room saying they need to prepare for Yamada's upcoming birthday party. Starface agrees, saying they have to do this right, otherwise their heads will roll. Yudo starts suspecting that these guys might have Shinji's backing. Nejima says it's good that they're planning their revenge. But our boy says it's late, and that he's heading home. His friend, however, says he'll stay a little longer to keep monitoring things. Yeah, I'm sure all he's going to do is monitor. Walking through the club, Yudo thinks about how Yamada has a tough opponent, but she's not exactly an easy target either. When suddenly, the system activates, detecting a potential target. If he solves the problem, he'll get a random bonus. Nearby, the big boss is approaching a girl in a skirt. If I remember correctly, this is that same guy from the bank. Man, he's talking to Miss Soei. Wait, isn't Soei the university principal? What is she doing here in that outfit at a bar? What's happening? She tells him that's enough and orders him to back off, saying he promised that if she wore this, he'd let her delay her debt payments for another 3 months. The old man smirks, saying it's ironic that she thought just putting on the outfit would be enough to get what she wanted. She should know she'd have to work harder than that to get what she wants. Soei simply responds that if they get any closer, she'll scream. But the old creep tells her to calm down, saying there's no need for them to get stressed over this. If she gives a special performance on stage for 5 minutes, then he'll let her postpone her debt for another 3 months. Soei snaps back that there's no way she's dancing for them. But the guy asks if she's sure she doesn't want to fix her problem. Imagine if the university higher-ups found out her payments were all behind. She grits her teeth and says fine, but only for 5 minutes. The old man grins, thanking her as she gets ready. Man, where's our boy? Is he not going to save her? You're late, my guy. The creep knows that people in her position have to maintain a clean image, which is why he's planning to take a bunch of photos to blackmail her later. Yeah, this bastard can go straight to hell. If our protagonist pulls out a Glock and puts him down, I wouldn't blame him. This old man sounds like one of those red pill guys who got dumped for being broke, and now thinks women should be treated like trash. He might as well start his own podcast to talk nonsense. Just as Soei is suffering, a Chad finally appears and tells her not to let these guys do this to her. She immediately recognizes him as Saki's brother, and our boy warns her that if she goes through with this, these guys will never stop blackmailing her. At that moment, the old man turns to Yudo, demanding to know who the hell he is. That's when our boy tilts his head and asks if he really has to remind him. The old creep starts trembling as he realizes it's Yudo, the king of 10 yens. But then he gathers his courage and says that a debt is a debt. She has to pay back what she owes him. Yudo dares him to try and force her. Now the old man is wondering why this bastard is always trying to pick a fight with him. Yudo turns to Soei and asks if she has any proof that they were charging abusive interest rates. Because if she does, she can take legal action and only pay back the original amount. Wait a minute, this bastard just turned into a lawyer all of a sudden. Soei is shocked, saying she didn't know that was even possible. Another guy nearby loses his temper, saying they have a contract with her and that nothing was abusive. But Yudo just smirks, saying the final decision isn't theirs. They'll be up to the investigators. Besides, our protagonist knows that this guy is broke after what happened with that bank. So where the hell did he even get the money to lend to Miss Soei? He asks if he really has to dig into that, and the old man hesitates. After a death stare from Yudo, the creep takes off running, saying he'll get his revenge, but for now, she should just forget about all this. Sometime later, outside, the stunning miniskirt principal thanks our boy for helping her. He tells her to just call him Yudo, the brave one. She apologizes for needing his help and explains that her father was in an accident and she urgently needed money, which led her into all this mess. Yudo nods, saying he understands, but he warns her to be more careful, or others will try to take advantage of her in the future. Gigantic moment. She admits she panicked and wasn't thinking straight. Our boy tells her not to be too hard on herself. Everyone makes mistakes. He was about to call her a taxi so she could rest. But then she suddenly says she can't go back to school. It's late at night, and if she shows up wearing that outfit, people will definitely get the wrong idea. He asks if she wants him to rent a hotel for her, and she says yes. A little while later, they're already at the reception asking for a room. The woman thanks them and hands over a keycard. But then the other receptionist suddenly seems to recognize something. Yudo tells Soei that once the room is set up, he'll head home. Soei thanks him but accidentally calls him Brother Yudo-san. He pauses confused. She quickly realizes her mistake and corrects it, calling him Seki's brother instead. Okay, now I'm confused. I think she just called him Big Bro for a second. Meanwhile, the receptionists are whispering among themselves. One of them taps Kui-chan's shoulder and tells her to check her phone. Looking to our boy, she says she's sure it's him. They start chatting, saying they have to do their best. Yudo asks if the room is ready. The other receptionist apologizes, saying all the single rooms are booked. But since it was their mistake, they'll upgrade them for free. At the same time, another girl is seen sprinting away in the background. Soei finds that odd, and Yudo asks why they aren't charging full price. The woman claims it's because the lack of rooms was their fault, and they pride themselves on professionalism. Soei shrugs, saying that's fine. They can just show them the room. Meanwhile, at the end of the hallway, a certain playboy is smugly checking his phone. Looks like he really got the girl's number and even convinced her to meet up. The guy knows how to play the game. In the background, he notices our dear Yudo-san. Back in the upgraded room, the whole floor seems to belong to them. Yudo and Soei are both confused, but the hotel staff just reassures them that everything here is free for them to use. However, when Soei opens a door, she suddenly lets out a scream. Inside the room were incredible torture tools, cruel and unsettling. Yudo turns to the hotel staff, who nonchalantly tells them not to worry, everything is sanitized. But Yudo stares at her and bluntly says that's not the problem here. The girl just steps back and leaves while he stands there, confused. He turns to Soei and says he's heading out, telling her to get some rest. But hold up, she grabs his arm and says there's something she needs to tell him. The camera angle suddenly shifts peculiarly, and she repeats herself. Yudo raises an eyebrow, asking what it is. Soei then apologizes for how she handled the situation with his sister. After investigating further, she realized that the problem was with those other girls. And as a teacher and someone responsible for the school, she should have caught it earlier. Our little rascal Yudo was clearly expecting her to say something completely different. He tells her that he's already spoken with Yamada, and she doesn't need to worry, everything has been settled with Shinji. But Soei insists, saying she wants to know where Saki is staying. She wants to apologize to her personally. Yudo shrugs and says fine. Sometime later downstairs, he runs into Nejima, who smirks and says he's finally found Yudo's weakness. But our protagonist just wants to know what this guy is doing here. Nejima shrugs, saying he saw him walking around with a certain lady, but Yudo brushes it off, saying that woman is just connected to his sister. Besides, he rented the room for her. He's already leaving. Nejima smirks knowingly, saying he understands very well how it goes. Friends during the day, lovers at night, you sly fox. Before Yudo can respond, a hotel receptionist suddenly calls out to him. She asks why he's leaving and if he was dissatisfied with the hotel. Yudo tells her he wasn't planning on staying the night, so what's the issue? She hesitates, then apologizes, saying she never expected someone as important as him to do a surprise inspection of the place. Yudo raises an eyebrow. Surprise inspection? What are you talking about? She looks surprised, saying she was certain he was here for that. He's confused, asking why he would do something like that. The receptionist explained that she thought he had become the new president and shareholder of the hotel. She had received a notification earlier and assumed that was why he was here. Turns out the system randomly gave him stock in the Oten group, which owns the hotel, and Yudo hadn't even noticed. Nejima bursts out laughing, saying Yudo is on another level. I've seen guys rent hotels for a girl, but I've never seen someone buy a hotel just to spend the night with one. Yudo is so dumb with this guy. He just tells the receptionist to check Nejima's documents. If everything isn't perfect, throw him out. She nods while Nejima panics, begging for a moment. If I have to leave now, I'll ruin the mood I was setting up with that girl. But Yudo doesn't care. He just walks away, leaving the fool behind. The next day, our boy is eating a nostalgic meal. It sounds like someone's mother is telling him to eat well and stay healthy. No, it's actually his friend's mom, the one who was in the hospital. That Yamabuchi shows up looking apologetic. He asks for a little more money, swearing he'll pay it back little by little. But Yudo just waves him off. He says he's never expecting repayment. Yamabuchi can ask for as much as he needs. He should just save up to marry Yuki-chan. and let his mother rest easy. Yamaguchi immediately tells him not to say that. Yudo asks what's wrong. Poor guy confesses that Yuki has been avoiding him. She's responding less and less to his messages. Yudo asks if she still works at a car dealership and Yamaguchi nods. After reading 500 Chinese web novels, we all know what's about to happen. He's taking his boy car shopping to settle the score. Next scene, the car dealership. A girl asks what the two of them are doing there. It's our dynamic duo. Yamaguchi says that our boy is looking to check out some rides. The girl tilts her head, then agrees to show him around. But Yamaguchi notices a small bruise on her knee. He asks what happened. She hesitates, saying she bumped into a car, but it's nothing serious. He presses for details, but she tells him not to worry. Then two other girls from the dealership show up. They mock Yuki, saying she always puts on the perfect drama act to get money from clueless guys. Yamaguchi immediately shuts them up, saying that Yuki is his girlfriend. He asks if these girls are her co-workers, and Yuki sighs, confirming it. Then Yudo jumps in with a modern-day roast, saying that by the looks of it, this place isn't a car dealership, it's a plastic surgery clinic. Because those two look like androids with how much work they've had done. Why did he just roast them? Who knows? But they definitely weren't happy about it. They sneer, saying that as far as they know, Yuki's boyfriend is broke, so they don't care about him and suggest he should just disappear. One of them even brags that the surgery she had cost more than his entire monthly salary. Then Yuki fires back. If you have so much money, why did you pin the accident on me? One of them scoffs, saying Yuki was the one at fault, so of course she has to pay. The two laugh her misery, but Yuki drops the bombshell. She reveals that they bumped into her on purpose. At that moment, she fell to her knees, dropping everything in her hands, looking like a total fool. Yamaguchi finally puts it together. That's why she had the bruise on her knee. The two girls dismiss it, saying it was nothing and telling her to stop making a big deal out of it. But Yamaguchi isn't having it. He demands that they apologize, and then man snapped. He grabs one of them by the arm and warns her, "If you don't apologize, you're getting beaten up." Nah, he didn't say that. He just firmly told them to apologize. That's when someone else appeared, asking what was going on. There was the foolish owner of the dealership, warning Yamaguchi that he was brave for laying a hand on his girl. The girl, of course, immediately put on the drama act, claiming that her arm was practically crushed by this monster. Right at that moment, Meridian spotted our boy and asked what he was doing there. Our girl looks shocked. She's definitely into the streamer queen. She explained that she was just here to check out some cars and asked what was happening. The argument kept escalating while the dealership owner suddenly became interested. He asked if Yudo and Yamaguchi were friends of Miss Meridian. Out of respect for her, if Yamaguchi apologized, they could end things here. But Yudo just stared at the guy and asked if he had lost his mind for demanding an apology from him. The dealership owner smirked, saying Yudo had just thrown away his only chance to avoid embarrassment. Meridian wished him good luck but warned that if things went south, she wouldn't help. The guy seemed confused and asked what she meant. She calmly explained that if he caused any trouble, his contract would be canceled. Now the dealership owner was finally paying attention. Who exactly was this kid standing in front of him? Why did the Ino family's princess value him so much? But then the two girls from the dealership scoffed, saying there was no way in hell they were apologizing to Yuki. Now the dealership owner was stuck. Either he backed down and looked weak or he lost the contract. The girls played their strongest cards. One of them even pulled out the classic Venom technique. And just like that, the fool walked straight into their trap. He sneered, saying that if there was a problem, they could call the police. But he was never going to apologize. At that moment, Meridian sealed his fate. Well then, the contract is officially canceled. But before she could finish, Yudo placed a hand on her shoulder. No need for that. She blinked in confusion. Yudo turned around, and then just walked out of the store. That's it. That's the simplest way I've ever seen a problem get resolved. There's no way that's all. Something has to happen later. Outside, Meridian apologized, but Yudo told her it was fine. Just like us, she couldn't believe how gentle he was being. How are you going to get revenge? But our boy just smirked, saying, I'm not some hitman hunting revenge. I'm chill. Yamaguchi, however, wasn't chilling. He swore he'd find a way to prove Yuki's innocence. Meanwhile, Yudo casually told Meridian that she was the truly kind one. Inside, the dealership owner and the two girls laughed. One of his employees offered him a little extra service as a reward for defending them. The fool thought he had won, but his smile disappeared the second he checked his phone. Suddenly, multiple companies had canceled contracts with him. And the worst part, many of those cars were already sold. So now he had to return the money and somehow explain the entire mess. Holding his head in frustration, he couldn't understand what was happening. The girls who had offered him a reward now asked if he still wanted it. But in a fit of rage, he kicked the first girl away, calling her trash. Meanwhile, Yudo had already handled everything via WhatsApp. How? Who knows? Maybe he has connections in the banking world. All we know is, our boy is too damn powerful. And he just tells Meridian not to worry. It's already handled. Later, on the city bridge, a luxury car cruised through the streets. Inside were our crew and a very happy Yuki. She asked Yudo if he needed a driver. But our boy smirked, saying this was a test. Yuki beamed, saying that was perfect. She was sure he wouldn't be as bad of a boss as her previous one. Yamaguchi's girl is looking kinda peculiar. Protagonist, open your damn eyes. Yamaguchi, however, was so furious about the dealership owner. He muttered that he wanted a way to get revenge, but Yuki shut him down. She said it didn't matter anymore. They were finally free. She also explained that she had been keeping her distance because she didn't want to add to his stress, since he was already dealing with his mother's situation. Now, Yamaguchi was all soft, apologizing and thanking her for being so understanding. Then Yuto groaned. "How long are you two gonna flirt in front of me?" Suddenly, his expression changed. He told her to focus on the road. She was about to crash. Yeah, she's definitely not gonna be a great driver. Sometime later, they arrive in front of a mega corporation. There, the first victim of our boy's plans was waiting. She tapped her foot, saying he took his time responding to her message. Now, she wanted to know why he was here. Yuto introduced Yuki to Mayumi. Looks like he's about to throw Yuki into a driver's job, probably hoping to kill them both in traffic. But Yuki, already playing along, announced that the car in front of them was her brand new gift from Yanaji. Immediately, Yanaji threw herself at Yuto, saying she was giving her best for the company. Then, Yuto's phone rang. There was an issue with Miss Sue. Apparently, Yamada had broken into his sister's room. Yuto immediately said he was on his way. He apologized to Yanaji but said he had something urgent to handle. Then he was gone. Yanaji, watching him leave, smirked. Next time, he won't get away. Meanwhile, at the university, an old woman was chasing Shinji with a broom. So it calmly explained that he was a student here. But the old lady simply responded, "I don't care. Just because he's a student doesn't mean he can do whatever he wants." The fool running away crashes right into our boy and immediately freezes when he looks up. Without hesitation, Yuto twists his arm, demanding to know where he thinks he's going. Shinji panics, threatening to call the police if his arm gets broken. But Yuto just covers his mouth. Sue hesitates, saying that maybe Yuto is going too far. But our boy just says he has unfinished business with this guy. Sue then explains that she saw this fool outside the school, climbing the stairs. It looked like he was heading toward his sister's room, so she decided to follow. But when she got upstairs, he was acting suspicious. He kept pacing around and trying to open a doorknob. That's when she texted Yuto for help. Why didn't she just call the police? No idea. Yuto looks at the papers Shinji is holding and asks where he got them. Sue says they were from Saki's room 207. But when Yuto takes a closer look, he realizes these aren't his sister's documents. It's a project for a new energy source, and he's pretty sure it doesn't belong to Saki. Then he drops the bomb. His sister's room is actually room 209. Sue's eyes widen in shock. She immediately apologizes for detaining Shinji, thinking he had broken into Saki's room. But now Shinji is furious. He snaps, saying he has every right to enter his sister's room, and he won't let this slide. But Yuto just drops the papers on the ground and asks, "So you really think I won't say anything about you stealing stuff from Yamada's room?" At that moment, Shinji flinches. Right, his full name is Yamada Shinji, and his sister is Yamada Mika. He was stealing from Mika's room. Shinji grits his teeth, insisting that his relationship with his sister is none of Yuto's business. That's a little peculiar, to say the least. But before things escalate, a police officer arrives. Shinji immediately tries to report Yuto for assault. But this wasn't just any cop. It was Uchiyama Akari, a giant old woman. Shinji thanks her for arriving quickly. But the second he calls her ma'am, she glares at him. She's not happy. She says she needs to investigate the situation first. But then she seems to recognize Yuto. Sometime later at the police station, Yuto is slumped in a chair looking done with life. In the room are Shinji, Mika, and Officer Akari. Akari tells everyone to explain themselves. But Mika sighs, saying it's fine. She's dropping the charges, so there's no need to drag this out. She stands up and tells Shinji to come with her. But Shinji refuses. He grumbles, saying he won't let Yuto off so easily. His right arm is still hurting, and he wants compensation. Mika rolls her eyes. Just stop causing trouble already. Besides, she's already letting him off easy. He was snooping through her documents. He should remember that she's the one who pays his allowance. And if he doesn't behave, she'll cut it off. Damn, Shinji is getting roasted by his own sister, and she even bankrolls him. Of course, the fool tries to lie, saying he only wanted to read the documents so he could help her. But Mika isn't buying it. She just tells him to stop making a scene. Then she asks if his arm still hurts and if he needs a hospital. Shinji immediately starts moving his arm, saying he's fine now. As long as you don't cut my allowance, I never feel pain. Yuto just stands up, stretching. Well, since that's settled, I'll be going now. But Officer Akari stops him. She tells him to stay put. Even if Shinji withdrew the complaint, if the hospital confirms an injury, it could still become a criminal case. And if that happens, she will have to arrest him. Yuto sighs. So what's the doctor's verdict? Akari smirks, saying they'll just have to wait and see. You damn brat. Outside the room, Sue is panicking. She never imagined that Yuto could actually be arrested. Suddenly, she bursts into the room and declares, I'll take full responsibility for everything that happened. She insists that Yuto was just helping her, so it's unfair for him to get in trouble. Akari squints at her. And who are you? Before Sue can answer, Yuto cuts in. He tells her to leave. I don't need more people getting involved in this. Sue hesitates, asking if he's sure, but eventually she nods. Fine, I'll go back to the university. Call me if you need anything. She leaves. Yuto tries to slip out with her, but Akari calls him back. For a second, It seems like she'll force him to stay, but instead, she just smirks. So, is that the type of woman you like now? Guess that explains why you never texted me all these years. Now Yudo is completely thrown off. Wait, what? Apparently, Akari was his first crush. Back in school, she was his senpai. Yudo immediately snaps, saying it was her who abandoned him. You're the one who left me behind. Akari crosses her arms, smirking. I see, so you only like younger girls now. I was just another phase for you, huh? Got it. Before Yudo can respond, someone enters with a hospital report. Akari takes a look, then sighs. Well, looks like you got lucky. No injury was found. Yudo groans. Can I go home now? Akari grins. Yeah, but before you go. She takes off her cap and stretches. My shift just ended. Wanna go grab something to eat. Next scene. At her apartment, Akari crouches down to grab a pair of shoes. Yudo looks around confused. Wait, I thought we were going out to eat. Why are we here? For a second, it seems like she'll say something insane. But then she just shrugs. I need to change first. I can't go out dressed as a cop. That actually makes sense. Though Yudo is starting to realize that Akari is way more direct than he remembered. Then he looks around and notices. Her entire apartment is a mess. He immediately knows what's up. This woman is completely exhausted from work. She sighs and admits, yes, she needs help cleaning her apartment. Oh no, Yudo, Renan. But before he can, she flops onto the bed and casually reminds him, you always helped me back when we were students. Or maybe stay, Yuto. Now he's cleaning the floor, and every few minutes I swear something is about to happen, but then nothing does. She suddenly asks him how many girlfriends he's had in the past few years. Yudo just shrugs. Only one. I even considered marrying her. Then, bam, she kicks him. He winces, demanding to know what the hell that was for. She pouts, stating that she hasn't dated anyone since then, and now she's jealous. Yudo just blinks at her. You broke up with me. I could do whatever I wanted. That doesn't make any sense. She stumbles over her words, muttering that she never wanted to break up. But Yudo just cuts to the chase. Then why did you disappear? He even asked around about her, but no one could find her. She just smirks and says, I'll only tell you if you finish cleaning my room. So Yudo grumbles but keeps picking up her stuff until, snap, she takes a picture. Right as he's holding her clothes in his hands, she sticks out her tongue, grinning. Now I got evidence of a crime, Tilde. This could put you away for years, Tilde. Yudo panics, telling her to delete it immediately. If that picture got out, he'd be screwed. But she just laughs, twirling her phone. Of course she's going to blackmail him. Then she smirks. What do you think your sister would say if she saw this, Tilde? Yudo sighs in defeat. Fine. What do you want? She grins. Not much. Just go shopping with me. And come to my dad's 60th birthday party. Yudo rubs his temples and says, fine. If I have time, I'll go. She claps her hands, thrilled. Great. Let's go shopping now. She throws open her closet and tells him to pick an outfit for her. She's curious, does he prefer her in a cute style or a mature look? Yudo hesitates. But before he can decide, her phone rings. It's work. She groans, saying she has to go. Yudo just shrugs. Shame. Guess I'm leaving too then. She walks over to the window and suddenly asks him, which direction do you think the criminal will run? Yudo raises an eyebrow. That's an odd question, but he points in a direction. And then, bam, she suddenly grabs his face and kisses him. IQ 1000 move. She then smirks and whispers, by the way, the criminal is right there, Tilde, then dashes out the door. Yudo just stands there dazed. This woman never changes. But whatever, he's got more important things to do. Meanwhile, at a high-rise office, a group of investors sits around the table. They're all interested in Yudo. They ask him, what are his next plans? Yudo just shrugs. Nothing special today. But then, out of nowhere, he tears into them. You guys call yourselves the owners of the city, yet you still haven't found the one person trying to kill me. The investors all shift awkwardly in their seats. They try to explain. That's not really our area of expertise. We know how to invest, not hunt down assassins. That's when Yudo's expression darkens. That's exactly why I'm here today. Since none of you understand investigations, I'm starting my own investigation company. Wait, that actually makes sense. Then he drops a bombshell. I'll invest 10,000 yen into it. The investors gasp. Yudo explains, if you want people to do their job right, you have to pay them well. Suddenly, the old men all sit up straight. Oh, an investigation company? Easy. We'd be great at that. Yudo smirks. All right, first case. Investigate the new energy project in country F and what's going on with the Yamada family and her brother. Meanwhile, at a hotel, a woman asks a man what's wrong. The man looks completely exhausted and dizzy. It's Nijima's crazy husband. She totally wrecked him. But then, out of nowhere, she pulls out a baseball bat. I can handle this myself. This room has some incredible features. It would be a waste not to use them. The poor guy tries to run, but he's captured. I'm terrified to know what happens next. Meanwhile, Nijima is at the hotel reception. He mutters that he can never go back to that place. But the hotel girl smiles and says, I brought you some soup, Tilde. He perks up, drinking it happily. Man, ever since Yudo-san took over, this hotel has gotten way better. Turns out, Yudo himself was the one who had the baseball bat and soup added. probably to keep Nejima from complaining about the hotel after he kicked him out that one time. 3D chess. We'll probably figure it out later. Cut to another scene. Some men are delivering mysterious items to the hotel. The Scarface guy is barking orders. Nejima passes by and recognizes him. That's one of the guys from before. Then a man named Haruma Fuji turns to the hotel staff and asks, "What the hell is going on here?" The hotel staff explained that someone rented out the entire top floor for a special birthday celebration. Nejima immediately raised an eyebrow. "Wait, is this for Yamada Mecha's birthday?" The guy nodded. "Yeah, that's the one." Nejima grinned. "Then this is perfect." The hotel worker looked confused and asked what he meant. That's when Nejima dropped the truth bomb. The guy organizing this party is trying to steal Yudo's sister. The hotel guy immediately panicked and said maybe he should just cancel the party. But Nejima smirked. No. Instead of canceling it, let's take full advantage of it. Later, Scarface finally saw the fully decorated venue and was impressed. He even offered extra money for the staff, thanking them for such a great job. But the hotel workers refused. The most important thing is that the birthday of someone as special as Yamada is perfect. Scarface smirked, thinking the hotel staff had finally realized how important he was. Little did he know, Nejima and the others were already scheming nearby. Meanwhile, Scarface called Yuto and invited him to the hotel, saying he should watch the fireworks from the Orson Hotel. But Yuto, completely exhausted, just told the guy to handle his own nonsense, until Nejima teased him. "You're gonna want to see this. Trust me, you can't miss it." Yuto sighed. Fine. He check it out. Scene shift. Mika's friend asked why Shinji called her there. Shinji smirked, asking, "Did you forget what day it is tomorrow?" Before she could respond, fireworks exploded in the sky. But in the middle of the display, there were strange numbers. 12 to 21:59. Mika was confused. The entire hotel audience was amazed. Then Shinji explained, "Once the clock strikes midnight, it'll be your birthday. You were born exactly on December 22nd at 12 minutes and 22 seconds. The moment the date changes, you'll be older." Mika smiled, thanking him, saying he didn't have to go so far. But Shinji just shrugged. "Don't misunderstand. I'm not that romantic." "Hold up. This better not be romantic. She's his sister." Then Shinji smirked. "Actually, none of this was my idea." Right then, Scarface appeared below, holding a bouquet of flowers. This bastard was trying to steal Yuto's sister. Shinji casually told him, "After the drone and fireworks show ends, go in with the bouquet." Fuji, watching from the side, said that if the plan worked, Scarface would get a big reward. Fuji then asked how much the hotel was charging for all this. While handing over the bouquet, Scarface smirked. "Don't even worry about it. They said they'd charge me even less for the event." Fuji waved it off. "Meh, doesn't matter. This stuff is cheap. The most important thing is getting the girl." Scarface gritted his teeth, irritated. This Fuji bastard was always pretending to be broke, but constantly flaunting his wealth. Meanwhile, Mika asked Shinji who planned all this. Shinji smirked. "They're coming now." Right on cue, Fuji stepped forward. "Happy birthday, Mika." Mika was stunned to see him there. Fuji grinned, saying she'd understand soon enough. Then the hotel staff suddenly announced something. "The drones are changing the message." The lights in the sky shifted. Now it read, "Happy birthday, Mika," from H.A. Haruma Fuji. Shinji, ever the genius, squinted. "Wait, that H, could it be Haruma Fuji?" No asterisk Shinji. But then, the H changed. It turned into William. Mika's eyes widened. Was that Yuto Matsushima? Suddenly, the hotel staff began apologizing. "We don't remember being paid for this part of the event." Scarface immediately realized they'd been tricked. While everyone was confused, Nejima appeared. And right then, Yuto walked in. Looking completely uninterested, he asked, "All right, why did you drag me here?" Nejima grinned. "Man, it was really worth staying at that crazy woman's hotel for this." Then he gestured at Yuto. "Our boy got so hyped to plan Mika's birthday that he completely exhausted himself." Fuji, seething, realized it was him again. Mika, completely flustered, could barely believe it. Yuto had gone this far just for her? Meanwhile, Scarface barked at the hotel staff. "You'll be punished for this nonsense." But the hotel guy calmly responded, "Actually, you're the one who's mistaken, because Yuto is our boss." Fuji, confused, sneered. "What, like he's the head of security or something?" Then, the hotel guy smirked. "No, he's our largest shareholder, or more specifically, our CEO." Fuji's face went pale. Yuto is still wondering, where's the like on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers? Activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.